John Cena sat in his hotel room looking at his phone screen. The image of the colorful SOS signals on the small window stayed in his mind. He had built his entire career on the message of perseverance and never giving up. He had said those words thousands of times in interviews, in the ring, in movies. But this 9-year-old girl had actually lived them in the most real and terrifying way possible. He called his assistant, Michael, who answered on the first ring. "I need you to do something for me," John said. "There is a little girl in Tampa, Florida. Her name is Maya Torres. I want to visit her." Michael was used to unusual requests from John. The man had a big heart and regularly made time for charitable causes despite his packed schedule. But this was short notice, even by John's standards. "When were you thinking?" Michael asked. "Tomorrow. I can move the morning meetings to phone calls. The charity event is not until the evening, and that is local. I can fly to Tampa in the morning and be back by afternoon." "That is really tight, John, and we would need to coordinate with the hospital. Get security arranged, make sure the family is okay with it, then start making calls," John said firmly but kindly. "This is important. This kid needs to know that what she did mattered. She needs to know that someone sees her courage." Michael knew better than to argue when John had made up his mind about something like this. "I will make it happen. Give me a few hours to set it up. Keep it quiet," John added. "No press announcement beforehand. I do not want this to turn into a media circus. This is about Maya, not about me getting publicity." Michael made phone calls for the next 3 hours. He contacted Tampa General Hospital and spoke with their public relations department. He explained who John Cena was and why he wanted to visit. The hospital was thrilled but also cautious. They needed to protect their patients' privacy and make sure the visit would not disrupt medical care. Next, Michael reached out to Child Protective Services to contact Maya's temporary foster family. The Johnsons were surprised and excited, but they wanted to make sure Maya was comfortable with it. They asked Maya, who was sitting at their kitchen table doing homework. "Maya, honey, we just got a very unusual phone call," Mrs. Johnson said gently. "Someone wants to come visit you at the hospital tomorrow when you see your grandmother." "Who?" Maya looked up from her math worksheet. "John Cena." Maya's pencil fell from her hand and clattered on the table. "What? That is not real. You are joking." "I am not joking," Mrs. Johnson said, smiling at the girl's shocked expression. "His people called. He saw the news story about what you did. He wants to meet you and visit your grandmother." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "John Cena knows about me?" "The whole country knows about you, sweetheart. You are a hero. And apparently heroes recognize other heroes." Maya could not sleep that night. She lay in the unfamiliar bed in the Johnsons' guest room, staring at her poster on the wall. John Cena's face looked back at her with that confident smile and pointing finger. Tomorrow she would meet him in real life. It did not seem possible. She thought about her grandmother lying in the hospital bed. Rosa had regained some consciousness over the past 2 days. She could not talk clearly yet, and her right side was still weak, but she was alive. The doctors said she was making good progress. They said the quick response time had made a huge difference in her recovery. Maya touched the poster lightly with her fingertips. "Never give up," she whispered to herself. She had not given up, and now something amazing was happening because of it. The next morning, John Cena's private plane landed at Tampa International Airport at 9 o'clock. A black SUV with tinted windows waited on the tarmac. John wore casual clothes, jeans, a simple shirt, and a baseball cap pulled low. He wanted to move through the hospital without causing too much disruption. Michael had arranged everything perfectly. They would enter through a side entrance used by staff. A small group of hospital administrators and security personnel would escort them directly to Rosa's room. The visit would be private and quiet, at least until they were safely inside with the family. Maya and the Johnsons arrived at the hospital at 10 o'clock. Maya wore her best clothes, a nice shirt and clean jeans. She had brought a small notebook and pen, hoping to get an autograph. Her hands shook as they rode the elevator up to the stroke unit. A hospital administrator met them in the hallway. She was a middle-aged woman with a warm smile and kind eyes. "Maya, your grandmother is doing well today. She is awake and alert." We have her in a private room at the end of the hall. There is someone special waiting to meet you there." Maya's heart pounded so hard she could hear it in her ears. They walked down the long hallway. Each step felt like it took forever. She could see a door at the end with several people standing outside it. Security guards, hospital staff, and someone tall, wearing a baseball cap. As they got closer, the man in the baseball cap turned around. He pulled off the hat and smiled. It was him. Actually him. John Cena in real life, standing in her grandmother's hospital, waiting to meet her. Maya froze. Her legs would not move. She just stared. John walked toward her, closing the distance between them. He knelt down so he was at her eye level. Up close, he looked exactly like he did in the movies and on TV, but also different somehow. More real. His eyes were kind and genuinely interested in her. "Hi, Maya," he said. "I heard you are a fan." Maya tried to speak, but no words came out. She nodded instead, tears starting to stream down her face. "I also heard," John continued, "that you are pretty much the bravest person in America right now. Is that true?" Maya shook her head. "I was just trying to help my grandma." "That is exactly what makes you brave," John said. "You saw someone you loved in trouble and you did not freeze. You did not panic. You thought of a solution and you executed it perfectly. Do you know how many adults could not do that?" "I was so scared," Maya whispered. "Being scared is okay. Being brave does not mean you are not scared. It means you do the right thing even when you are scared." He pointed to his chest where his shirt showed the familiar motto, "Never give up." "You lived that message better than anyone I have ever met." Maya finally found her voice. "You really came here to see me?" "Of course I did. When I heard your story, I knew I had to meet you. I wanted to tell you personally how proud I am of you. And I wanted to meet your grandmother and tell her how lucky she is to have such an amazing granddaughter." He stood up and offered Maya his hand. She took it, and together they walked toward the hospital room where Rosa was waiting. The door opened, and Maya saw her grandmother sitting up slightly in the bed. Rosa's eyes went wide when she saw who was walking in with her granddaughter. "Hello, Mrs. Torres," John said warmly. "I came to meet two heroes today." Maya Torres pressed her face against the cool glass of her bedroom window. She watched the school bus drive away down the quiet street. The yellow vehicle turned the corner and disappeared from sight. She let out a small sigh. Her grandmother had called the school that morning to say Maya would stay home today. The 9-year-old girl turned away from the window and looked around her small bedroom. Posters of John Cena covered almost every inch of the walls. Some showed him holding championship belts high above his head. Others captured him mid-action in the wrestling ring. Her favorite poster hung directly above her bed. It showed John Cena pointing at the camera with the words, "Never give up," printed in bold letters across the bottom. Maya had loved wrestling for as long as she could remember. Her grandmother, Rosa Torres, had introduced her to it 3 years ago. They watched every match together on their old television in the living room. Rosa would make popcorn, and they would cheer together when their favorite wrestlers won. John Cena was always Maya's hero. She loved how he never quit, no matter how tough things got in the ring. The house felt different today. It was too quiet. Usually Rosa would be humming in the kitchen or calling Maya to help with small tasks. But this morning, Rosa had stayed in bed longer than usual. She said her head hurt and her arm felt heavy. Maya had brought her a glass of water and some medicine. Rosa smiled weakly and told Maya she just needed to rest. Maya walked down the narrow hallway to her grandmother's bedroom. The door stood slightly open. She knocked softly before entering. Rosa lay in bed with her eyes closed. Her breathing sounded strange, like she was working hard to get air into her lungs. Maya felt a cold feeling spread through her chest. "Grandma?" Maya said quietly. "Are you okay?" Rosa did not answer. Her face looked different somehow. One side seemed to droop down more than the other. Her mouth hung open at an odd angle. Maya stepped closer to the bed. She reached out and touched her grandmother's hand. The skin felt cold and clammy. "Grandma, please wake up," Maya said louder this time. Her voice shook with fear. Rosa's eyes fluttered open for just a moment. She tried to speak, but the words came out all wrong. They sounded jumbled and unclear. Her right arm lay motionless on top of the blanket. She tried to lift it, but could not. Panic filled her eyes as she looked at Maya. Maya felt her heart start to race. Something was very wrong. She had learned about emergencies at school. The teachers always said to call 911 if someone needed help. Maya ran to the kitchen where the old phone hung on the wall. Her hands trembled as she picked up the receiver and held it to her ear. Nothing. No dial tone. No sound at all. The phone was completely dead. Maya remembered now. 2 weeks ago, Rosa had been upset about the phone bill. She said they could not pay it this month. They needed the money for medicine and food instead. Rosa promised they would get the phone turned back on next month. But next month felt very far away right now. Maya ran back to her grandmother's room. Rosa's eyes were closed again. Her breathing had become even more labored. Maya felt tears start to roll down her cheeks. She was alone in the house with no way to call for help. The nearest neighbor lived 3 houses down. Maya was not allowed to leave the house when her grandmother was home. But her grandmother was not really home right now, was she? Not in the way that mattered. The little girl felt frozen with fear. Her mind raced through everything she had learned at school about emergencies. She thought about the movies she had watched with her grandmother. In one movie, a person was trapped on an island. They wrote a message in the sand so planes flying overhead could see it. In another movie, someone used a mirror to reflect sunlight and signal for help. Maya looked around the room desperately. She needed to let someone know they were in trouble. But how? She could not call. She could not leave. She could not make loud noises because there was no one close enough to hear. Then her eyes landed on the window. The afternoon sun shone through the glass, making patterns on the floor. Maya ran to her bedroom and grabbed her box of washable markers. She had all different colors: red, blue, green, yellow, orange, purple. She dumped them all onto her bed and picked up the brightest ones. Maya climbed onto the chair she kept by her window. The chair wobbled slightly under her weight, but she held steady. She uncapped a bright red marker and pressed it against the glass. Her hand shook as she drew the first letter, S. Then she drew an O, then another S. The letters looked messy and uneven, but they were big and clear. Anyone who looked at her window would see them. But Maya worried that just SOS might not be enough. What if people thought it was just a kid playing around? She needed to make it more serious, more real. She grabbed an orange marker and drew exclamation points after the letters. Then she used blue to draw them again below the first set, making them even bigger. She used every bright color she had, drawing SOS over and over across the entire window. When she ran out of space, she started drawing on the second window in her room. Her arms ached from reaching up high. Marker ink covered her fingers in rainbow colors. Some of it smudged on her clothes and on the glass. But Maya did not stop. She drew hearts around some of the letters. She drew arrows pointing down toward the front door. She wrote help in big letters between the SOS signals. When she finally ran out of markers, Maya climbed down from the chair. She looked at her work. The windows blazed with color. From outside, anyone who looked up would see her desperate message. But would anyone look? Their street was quiet. Not many cars drove by during the day. The mail carrier came early in the morning. The UPS truck usually came in the afternoon, but not every day. Maya ran back to check on her grandmother. Rosa had not moved. Her chest still rose and fell, but very slowly. Maya pulled the blanket up higher around her grandmother's shoulders. She held Rosa's cold hand in both of her small, warm ones. "Someone will see my sign, Grandma," Maya whispered. "Someone has to see it. John Cena would never give up, so I will not give up either. Help is coming. I promise." Outside, the afternoon sun began its slow descent toward the horizon. The bright colors on Maya's window caught the light and seemed to glow. The SOS signal stood out against the white walls of the small house like a beacon. Now all Maya could do was wait and hope that someone would notice. Someone had to notice, they just had to. Marcus Chen adjusted the rearview mirror of his brown UPS truck and glanced at the dashboard clock. 3:15 in the afternoon. He had about 40 more stops to make before his route was finished for the day. The Tampa heat made the inside of the truck feel like an oven, even with both windows rolled down. Marcus had been driving this same route for 3 years now. He knew every street, every house, every regular customer by name. Some drivers saw their job as just dropping off packages and moving on. But Marcus was different. He paid attention to the small details. He noticed when someone planted new flowers in their garden. He remembered which houses had dogs that barked at the truck. He knew who was on vacation because their mail would pile up. This attention to detail had helped people before. Last summer, Marcus noticed that Mr. Patterson's newspapers had stacked up for 3 days. That was unusual, because Mr. Patterson always picked up his paper first thing in the morning. Marcus knocked on the door to check. It turned out Mr. Patterson had fallen in his bathroom and could not get up. Marcus called for help, and the paramedics said he probably saved the old man's life. Marcus pulled his truck onto Maple Street. This was one of his favorite neighborhoods. The houses were small and old, but people took care of them. Gardens lined the sidewalks. Children drew pictures with chalk on the driveways. People actually waved when he drove past. He checked his handheld scanner for the next address. 2847 Maple Street, the Torres house. Marcus smiled. He had been delivering packages to Rosa Torres for over 2 years now. She was a kind woman who always thanked him, even for small deliveries. Sometimes she would be sitting on her front porch and they would chat for a minute or two. She liked to talk about her granddaughter, Maya. The little girl loved wrestling, apparently. Rosa was very proud of her. As Marcus drove closer to the Torres house, something felt off. He could not quite put his finger on it at first. The house looked the same as always. Small, white with blue shutters, a tiny front porch. But something was different. The mailbox. It was full. Letters and advertisements stuck out from the top, crammed so tightly that the little door would not close properly. Marcus frowned. Rosa always collected her mail. She was particular about it. She said she did not want bills to get lost or stolen. Marcus pulled his truck to the curb in front of the house. He grabbed the small package he needed to deliver and climbed out. As he walked up the short driveway, he looked more carefully at the house. The curtains were closed on all the windows downstairs. No one sat on the porch. Everything seemed still and quiet. He approached the front door and rang the doorbell. The sound echoed inside the house, but no one came. Marcus waited for a full minute, then rang again. Still nothing. This was very unusual. Rosa was almost always home during the day. Her health was not great, so she rarely went out. Marcus stepped back from the door and looked up at the second floor of the house. That was when he saw it. The window on the right side was covered in bright colors. At first, his brain registered it as just a child's artwork. Kids drew on windows sometimes. But as his eyes focused, he saw the letters. SOS. Written over and over in different colors. Big letters. Small letters. Some had exclamation points. Some were surrounded by hearts and arrows. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. SOS was not something kids drew for fun. It was a distress signal, a call for help. He took a few steps back to get a better view of the window. The more he looked, the more urgent it seemed. Someone in that house needed help, and they had been desperate enough to draw on the windows to get attention. He pulled out his cell phone and dialed 911. His hands felt steady, but his heart pounded in his chest. The dispatcher answered on the second ring. 911, what is your emergency? My name is Marcus Chen. I am at 2847 Maple Street in Tampa. There is an SOS signal written on the upstairs window. I think someone inside needs help. No one is answering the door. Can you see anyone in the house, sir? The dispatcher asked. No, but the signal is clearly visible. Someone wrote it there. The mailbox is full, which is unusual for this address. I deliver here regularly. Stay on the line, sir. I am sending officers and paramedics to your location now. Do not enter the house unless you hear someone calling for help or see immediate danger. Marcus walked around the side of the house, keeping the dispatcher on the line. He looked in the ground floor windows, but the curtains blocked most of his view. Then he heard it. A small voice, faint, but definitely there. Someone was crying inside. Hello? Marcus called out loudly. "Is anyone there? I am here to help." The crying got louder. It sounded like a child. A young girl, maybe. "Help!" The voice was weak but clear. "Please help us. My grandma is sick." Marcus felt a surge of adrenaline. He told the dispatcher what he heard. She advised him to try to keep talking to the person inside but to wait for emergency services if possible. They would arrive in less than 5 minutes, but Marcus could hear the fear in that little voice. 5 minutes might be too long. He went to the back of the house and found a small window near the ground. It looked like it led to a laundry room or basement. Marcus tested it gently. It was locked, but the latch looked old and weak. "I am coming in to help," he told the dispatcher. "There is a child inside and she says someone is sick." "Officers are 2 minutes away, sir. Please wait if you can." Marcus looked at the window, then back at his truck where he kept his tools. He made a decision. Using his jacket to protect his hand, he applied pressure to the window frame. The old wood creaked and gave way. The window popped open. "I am coming inside," Marcus shouted toward the house. "Do not be scared, I am here to help." He carefully climbed through the window, trying not to cut himself on any broken pieces. He found himself in a small laundry room. Boxes and detergent bottles lined the shelves. He moved quickly to the door and opened it. The house was dim inside with all the curtains closed. Marcus moved toward the stairs, following the sound of crying. A little girl appeared at the top of the stairs. She had dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. Her face was streaked with tears. Marker stains covered her hands and clothes. "Are you Maya?" Marcus asked gently. The girl nodded, her eyes wide with relief and fear mixed together. "My grandma is sick, she will not wake up. I tried to call 911, but our phone does not work. I did not know what to do, so I made the sign on my window." "You did exactly the right thing," Marcus said, climbing the stairs toward her. "Help is on the way. Can you show me where your grandma is?" Maya turned and led him down the hallway to a bedroom. Marcus followed her inside and saw an elderly woman lying in the bed. Her breathing was shallow and irregular. One side of her face drooped noticeably. Marcus recognized the signs immediately. Stroke. They needed help fast. Marcus knelt beside the bed and gently touched Rosa's hand. Her skin felt cold and slightly damp. He could see her chest moving up and down, but each breath seemed to require great effort. The right side of her face hung slack, and her right arm lay motionless on the blanket. "How long has she been like this?" Marcus asked Maya, keeping his voice calm and steady. He did not want to scare the little girl any more than she already was. Maya wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, leaving more marker streaks across her face. "She was feeling bad this morning. She said her head hurt. Then I came to check on her, and she looked like this. She tried to talk, but the words came out wrong. That was a long time ago. Maybe before lunch? I do not know exactly." Marcus heard sirens in the distance. They were getting closer. "You did great, Maya, really great. The ambulance is almost here. Your grandma is going to get help now." "Is she going to die?" Maya's voice was barely a whisper. "The doctors are very good at helping people. They will take care of her," Marcus said. He did not want to make promises he could not keep, but he also wanted to give this brave little girl some hope. The sirens grew louder and then stopped right in front of the house. Marcus heard car doors slamming and voices shouting instructions. He stood up and called out, "Up here! Second floor!" Heavy footsteps pounded up the stairs. 2 paramedics rushed into the room carrying large bags of equipment. A police officer appeared right behind them. Marcus stepped back to give them room to work. The paramedics moved with practiced efficiency. One checked Rosa's vital signs while the other asked Marcus questions. What time did he find her? What condition was she in? Did anyone see what happened? Marcus explained everything he knew, which was not much. He pointed to Maya. Her granddaughter found her like this. She has been here alone trying to help. The phone is not working, so she drew SOS on the window to get attention. One of the paramedics, a woman with short red hair, looked at Maya with a mixture of surprise and admiration. "You drew that signal?" Maya nodded, looking small and scared, standing in the corner of the room. "That was very smart thinking," the paramedic said warmly. "You might have saved your grandma's life." The other paramedic, a tall man with glasses, spoke into his radio. "We need immediate transport. Female, approximately 70 years old, showing signs of acute stroke. Right-sided paralysis and facial drooping. Patient is responsive to pain but not verbal. Requesting priority dispatch." The police officer, a young man with kind eyes, approached Maya. "Hi there. I am Officer Davis. You are very brave. Is there anyone we can call for you?" "Your parents, maybe?" Maya shook her head. "My mom died when I was little. I do not have a dad. It is just me and Grandma." Officer Davis exchanged glances with Marcus. This complicated things. Maya could not stay here alone, and if her grandmother was hospitalized for a while, they would need to make arrangements for the child. The paramedics worked quickly to stabilize Rosa. They checked her blood pressure, started an IV line, and carefully moved her onto a stretcher. Rosa's eyes opened briefly, and she made a small sound when she saw Maya. "Grandma!" Maya tried to rush forward, but Officer Davis gently held her back. "Let them work, sweetheart. You will see her at the hospital soon." They carried Rosa down the stairs and out to the waiting ambulance. Maya watched through the window as they loaded her grandmother into the back. The ambulance pulled away with its lights flashing and siren wailing. Maya's face crumpled, and she started to cry again. Marcus put a gentle hand on her shoulder. "She is getting help now. That is the most important thing." More people arrived at the house. A woman in regular clothes showed up and introduced herself as Linda Park from Child Protective Services. She had a kind smile but a serious manner. She explained to Maya that since her grandmother was going to the hospital and there were no other family members available, Maya would need to stay with a temporary foster family for a little while. "No," Maya said firmly. "I want to stay here. This is my home." "I know this is scary," Linda said softly. "But you cannot stay here by yourself. It is just for a short time until your grandma gets better. You will be safe, and you can bring some of your things with you." Maya looked around desperately, as if searching for a way out of this situation. Her eyes landed on Marcus, who still stood near the doorway. He gave her an encouraging nod. "It will be okay," Marcus said. "Your grandma would want you to be safe and taken care of." Officer Davis helped Maya pack a small bag with clothes, her toothbrush, and a few personal items. She insisted on bringing her favorite John Cena poster, the one that said, "Never give up." She carefully rolled it up and tucked it under her arm. Before they left, Marcus knelt down so he was at eye level with Maya. "You are one of the bravest people I have ever met. Do you know that? What you did today was incredible. You stayed calm, you thought of a solution, and you got help for your grandma. Not many adults could do that, let alone a kid your age." "But I was so scared," Maya said. "Being brave does not mean you are not scared. It means you do what needs to be done even when you are scared. That is real courage." Maya managed a small smile. "Like John Cena in the ring?" "Exactly like John Cena," Marcus agreed. Linda Park drove Maya to a foster home on the other side of Tampa. The house belonged to a couple named the Johnsons. They had fostered children before and knew how to make scared kids feel welcome. They showed Maya to a small bedroom with a twin bed and told her she could decorate it however she wanted. Maya taped her John Cena poster to the wall beside the bed. She sat on the edge of the mattress and stared at it. The words "never give up" seemed to glow in the fading afternoon light. Back at the Torres house, Marcus gave his statement to the police. He explained how he had noticed the full mailbox and the SOS signal. He described breaking in through the window when he heard Maya calling for help. Officer Davis shook his hand. "You did good today. Real good. That little girl and her grandmother are lucky you pay attention." Marcus drove his UPS truck away from Maple Street as the sun began to set. He still had packages to deliver, but his mind kept returning to Maya's face. She had been through something terrible, but she had not fallen apart. She had fought for her grandmother in the only way she could. At Tampa General Hospital, doctors worked to stabilize Rosa Torres. The stroke had been severe, but she had received treatment within the critical time window. Her chances of recovery were better, because of how quickly help had arrived. And help had arrived quickly because a 9-year-old girl refused to give up, and a delivery driver paid attention to the details that others might have missed. Maya lay in her temporary bed that night, unable to sleep. She worried about her grandmother. She missed her own room. She felt lost and scared. But she also felt something else. She felt proud. She had saved her grandmother's life. John Cena would be proud of her, too. Sarah Kim pushed her medication cart down the hallway of Tampa General Hospital. She had been a nurse in the stroke unit for 5 years, and she thought she had seen everything. But the story she heard that evening during the shift change briefing touched her heart in a way that surprised her. A 9-year-old girl had saved her grandmother's life by drawing an SOS signal on her bedroom window. The child had been alone in the house with no way to call for help. Instead of panicking completely, she had thought of a creative solution. The signal had caught the attention of a delivery driver, who called 911 and got help just in time. Sarah found herself thinking about the story all evening as she made her rounds. During her dinner break, she sat in the staff lounge and pulled out her phone. She opened her social media app and started typing. Today I met the bravest little girl. She saved her grandmother's life using only markers and quick thinking. When their phone was disconnected and her grandmother had a stroke, 9-year-old Maya Torres drew SOS signals all over her bedroom window. A UPS driver named Marcus Chen noticed and called for help. Because of Maya's courage and Marcus's awareness, her grandmother is now receiving treatment and has a real chance at recovery. This is what heroes look like. They come in all ages. Share this story to celebrate Maya and Marcus. Sarah attached a photo she had taken of the colorful window before the family arrived to clean it. The SOS letters in multiple colors looked striking against the White House. She added several hashtags and posted it. She did not expect much to happen. Sarah had a few hundred followers, mostly other nurses and family members. Her posts usually got a handful of likes and maybe a comment or two. But this post was different. Within an hour, 50 people had shared it. By the time Sarah finished her shift at midnight, it had been shared 500 times. When she woke up the next morning and checked her phone, her eyes went wide. The post had been shared over 20,000 times. Her notifications were going crazy. People from all over the country were commenting. Parents praised Maya's quick thinking. Teachers said they would use the story to teach their students about emergency preparedness. Strangers offered to donate money to help with the family's medical bills. The post had gone viral in a way Sarah never imagined possible. Local news stations started calling the hospital asking for interviews. The first one to arrive was Channel 8 News. They wanted to speak with anyone who could provide details about the story. The hospital's public relations department carefully arranged for interviews that would not violate patient privacy. They contacted Marcus Chen through his employer, UPS. Marcus was not comfortable being in the spotlight, but he agreed to one interview if it would help Maya and her grandmother. The reporter, a woman named Jessica Torres, met him at the UPS facility where he started his routes each day. Marcus stood beside his familiar brown truck, looking slightly uncomfortable in front of the camera. He wore his standard UPS uniform, and his truck was loaded with packages ready for delivery. "Tell us what happened yesterday," Jessica said, holding a microphone toward him. Marcus took a breath and explained the situation. He described noticing the full mailbox, seeing the SOS signal, hearing Maya's cries for help, and making the decision to enter the house through the window. "What made you look up at that window?" Jessica asked. "I pay attention to my route," Marcus said simply. "I have been delivering to that neighborhood for 3 years. I know the people. When something seems off, I check on it. That is just part of the job, at least the way I see it." The little girl, Maya, had covered her bedroom windows with SOS signals in bright markers. "What went through your mind when you saw that?" "I knew immediately that someone needed help. SOS is not something kids draw for fun. It is a distress signal. I had to act." We understand that Maya is a big wrestling fan, particularly of John Cena. Her entire bedroom is covered with his posters. Marcus smiled. "Yes, that is true. Her grandmother had told me about it before. Maya loves wrestling. She had a John Cena poster in almost every inch of that room. The one above her bed says, 'Never give up.' And that is exactly what Maya did. She never gave up on saving her grandmother. The interview aired on the evening news. The segment showed Marcus standing beside his truck, talking about his regular route and the importance of paying attention to details. It showed the house with the colorful windows. It included quotes from hospital staff about Rosa's condition, which was stable and improving. And it highlighted Maya's incredible quick thinking and courage. The story resonated with viewers across Tampa and beyond. Within hours, other news stations picked it up. It appeared on local news in cities across Florida. Then it jumped to national news websites. By the next morning, it was trending on social media. People loved every aspect of the story. They loved that a child had been so resourceful and brave. They loved that a delivery driver had been observant and caring enough to investigate. They loved the human element, the community coming together, the happy ending that seemed possible for Rosa. In Los Angeles, a young woman named Amanda worked on the social media team for several celebrity clients. Part of her job was to monitor trending stories and flag anything that might be relevant to the people she represented. One of her clients was Cena. Amanda was scrolling through trending topics during her lunch break when she saw the story about Maya Torres. She clicked on the news segment and watched the whole thing. When Marcus mentioned that Maya's bedroom was covered in Cena posters, Amanda sat up straighter. She watched the segment 2 more times, taking notes. Then she compiled all the information she could find about the story. News articles, social media posts, photos of the house, quotes from hospital staff and police officers. She put it all together in a brief summary and sent it to Cena's management team with a note. This story is going viral. 9-year-old girl saves her grandmother using SOS signal. She is a huge Cena fan. Her bedroom is covered in posters. The child showed incredible courage during a crisis. This seems like something John might want to know about. The management team received hundreds of messages like this every day. Most of them were requests for appearances, charity events, or people hoping to meet Cena for various reasons. They had to be selective about what they passed along to him. His schedule was always packed with filming commitments, wrestling events, and promotional appearances. But this story was different. It had all the elements that they knew would appeal to John. A child in crisis who showed real courage. A genuine fan, not just someone seeking celebrity attention. A story that had captured the public's attention and was spreading rapidly. And most importantly, an opportunity to make a real difference in a child's life. They forwarded the information to Cena, who was in Los Angeles between filming commitments. The message included links to the news segments, the viral social media posts, and background information about Maya and her grandmother's situation. Cena read through everything on his phone that evening. He watched the news segment twice. When he saw Marcus mention the room full of posters and the never give up message, something stirred in him. This little girl had lived out the very message he promoted. When faced with an impossible situation, she had not given up. She had found a way to fight back. John looked at his schedule for the next few days. He had meetings in Los Angeles, a charity event, and some media interviews, but nothing that could not be rescheduled or moved around. He made a decision quickly. He called his assistant. Rosa Torres could not believe her eyes. Through the fog of medication and the difficulty of processing everything with her recovering brain, she recognized the man standing at the foot of her hospital bed. Cena. The wrestler her granddaughter watched every week. The face from all those posters covering Maya's bedroom walls. He was really here in her hospital room, holding her granddaughter's hand. Rosa tried to speak, but her words still came out slurred and unclear. Her right side remained weak and she struggled to move it. Frustration filled her eyes as she attempted to communicate. John understood immediately. He had visited enough hospital rooms and met enough people dealing with serious health issues to recognize the struggle. He pulled up a chair next to her bed and sat down. "Mrs. Torres, please do not worry about talking. Just rest and let me do the talking instead. I came here today because your granddaughter did something incredible. Something that made news across the entire country. She saved your life." Rosa's eyes moved to Maya, who stood near the window looking overwhelmed. Tears streamed down the little girl's face. Rosa managed to lift her left hand slightly and reached toward her granddaughter. Maya rushed to her side and took the offered hand carefully. "I know you must have been so scared," John continued, looking at Rosa. being sick and unable to call for help. But you raised one tough, smart, creative kid here. When Maya could not use the phone, she did not give up. She used the resources she had, markers and a window. She turned her bedroom into a beacon for help. John reached into the bag he had brought with him. I brought some things for both of you. First, I wanted to give you this. He pulled out a framed photograph. It showed John Cena in his wrestling gear, striking his signature pose. He had signed it with a special message. To Rosa and Maya Torres, thank you for showing the world what true courage looks like. Never give up. John Cena. Maya gasped when she saw it. Is that really for us? It is really for you, John confirmed. He carefully propped it up on Rosa's bedside table where they could both see it. I also brought you some other WWE merchandise. T-shirts, a championship belt toy, some DVDs of recent matches. But more importantly, he pulled out an envelope. I wanted to help with something practical. He opened the envelope and showed them a check. The amount made both Maya and the Johnsons, who had been standing quietly near the door, gasp. It was for $50,000. This is to help with medical bills and whatever else you need, John explained. I know hospital stays are expensive. I know recovery takes time. I do not want you to worry about money while you are healing. I want you to focus on getting better. Rosa's eyes filled with tears. She shook her head slightly, trying to refuse such a generous gift. Her working hand made a weak gesture of protest. Please, John said gently. Let me do this. You have given the world an example of raising an incredible child. Maya has inspired thousands of people with her story. This is just my way of saying thank you and helping make sure you both have what you need. John turned his attention back to Maya. I have one more surprise. When your grandmother is feeling better and the doctors say it is okay for her to travel, I want both of you to come to WrestleMania as my personal guests. Front row seats, backstage passes. You will meet all the wrestlers. You will see everything that happens behind the scenes. What do you say? Maya looked like she might faint. WrestleMania? Front row? Really? Really, John said with a warm smile. I want you there. You deserve it. When is WrestleMania? Maya asked. 3 months from now. That gives your grandmother time to recover and get stronger. The doctors tell me she is making excellent progress. With good therapy and time, she should be able to travel by then. Rosa squeezed Maya's hand with her good left hand. Despite her difficulty speaking, her meaning was clear. She wanted Maya to know she would work hard to recover so they could go together. John spent the next hour just talking with them. He asked Maya about school, her favorite subjects, what she wanted to be when she grew up. He asked about her favorite wrestling matches and what she loved most about the sport. Maya slowly relaxed and started talking more naturally. She even laughed at some of John's stories about things that had gone wrong during matches. He also talked to Rosa, even though she could not respond clearly. He told her about his own family, his career, his life outside of wrestling. He treated her with respect and dignity, never acting like her speech difficulties made her less worthy of conversation. A nurse came in to check on Rosa. She tried to remain professional, but her eyes kept drifting to John Cena. When she recognized him, her hands started shaking so much she almost dropped her blood pressure cuff. Sorry, she whispered. I am a big fan. No problem, John said kindly. He posed for a quick photo with her after she finished checking Rosa's vital signs. Word had spread through the hospital despite the attempts to keep the visit quiet. Staff members found reasons to walk past Rosa's room. They peeked through the small window in the door. Hospital security had to station someone at each end of the hallway to keep the area clear. John noticed the growing attention. He did not want to disrupt the hospital's operations. I should probably let you rest, he told Rosa. The doctor said I should keep this visit short anyway. He stood up and leaned over the bed rail. You focus on getting better, okay? Maya needs you. You are her hero just as much as I am. Maybe more. Rosa nodded, tears running down the left side of her face. She touched her heart with her good hand and then pointed at John, a gesture of gratitude clearer than any words. John turned to Maya and opened his arms. Can I have a hug from America's bravest kid? Maya rushed into his embrace. John lifted her up easily and she wrapped her arms around his neck. She buried her face in his shoulder and cried tears of joy, relief, and overwhelming emotion. Everything that had happened over the past few days finally hit her all at once. The fear, the loneliness, the desperate hope that her plan would work, the terror that her grandmother might die. And now this, a moment so perfect it seemed like a dream. You are going to be okay, John said quietly, just for her. Both of you are going to be okay. You did good, kid. You did really, really good. He set her down gently. Maya wiped her eyes and looked up at him. Thank you for coming. This is the best day of my whole life. Mine too, John said, and he meant it. Before he left, John had one more request. Maya, would you mind if we took a picture together? I want to post it on my social media. I want to tell your story to all my followers. I want everyone to know what you did. Maya nodded eagerly. They took several photos together. Some were serious, with John's arm around Maya's shoulders. Some were fun, with both of them making silly faces or throwing up hand gestures. In every single one, Maya's smile shone brighter than stadium lights. As John prepared to leave, he stopped at the door and turned back. He looked directly at Maya and pointed at her the same way he did in her favorite poster. Never give up, he said. Never give up, Maya repeated, pointing back at him. And in that moment, those 3 words meant more than they ever had before. Cena posted the photos from the hospital visit as soon as he got back to his hotel room. He wrote a long caption explaining Maya's story in his own words. He described the SOS signal, the quick-thinking delivery driver, and the brave little girl who refused to give up when her grandmother needed her most. Today I met a real champion, his post began. Her name is Maya Torres and she is 9 years old. When her grandmother had a stroke and their phone was disconnected, Maya could have panicked. Instead, she drew SOS signals all over her bedroom window, using markers. A UPS driver named Marcus Chen noticed and called 911. Because of Maya's courage and creativity, her grandmother is alive and recovering. This is what a hero looks like. Never give up is not just a slogan. Maya lived it. The post exploded across social media. Within an hour, it had 1 million likes. By the end of the day, it had been shared over 500,000 times. News outlets picked up the story again, this time with photos of Cena's visit. The local Tampa News ran a special segment about the surprise visit and John's generous donation to the family. People across the country were touched by every aspect of the story. Parents started teaching their children about emergency signals and what to do in crisis situations. Schools invited Marcus Chen to speak about awareness and paying attention to your surroundings. Marcus was uncomfortable with the attention, but he agreed to speak at a few local schools because he believed in the message. Anyone can make a difference, Marcus told a gymnasium full of elementary school students. You just have to pay attention and care about the people around you. I was just doing my job, but I was doing it with my eyes open. That made all the difference. The story also sparked a community initiative in Tampa. A local nonprofit organization started a program to provide free emergency cell phones to elderly residents and families who could not afford regular phone service. The phones would only work for 911 calls. But that was enough to prevent situations like the one Maya and Rosa had faced. Maya's school held a special assembly in her honor. The principal presented her with a certificate recognizing her bravery and quick thinking. Her classmates cheered and applauded. Maya stood on the stage feeling shy but proud. She thought about her grandmother, who was working hard in rehabilitation every day. Rosa's recovery was going better than the doctors initially expected. The quick response time had minimized the damage from the stroke. She still had weakness on her right side, but she was regaining movement slowly. Her speech was improving every day. She could say short sentences now, though she had to work hard to form the words correctly. Physical therapists came to work with Rosa twice a day. They helped her practice walking, moving her right arm, and doing everyday tasks. Occupational therapists taught her strategies for managing activities like getting dressed and eating meals. Speech therapists worked with her on pronunciation and word recall. Rosa was determined to recover fully. Every time therapy got difficult or painful, She thought about Maya's face when John Cena walked into the room. She thought about WrestleMania and the promise to be there with her granddaughter. That promise gave her strength when she wanted to give up. Maya visited the hospital every day after school. The Johnsons drove her there and stayed in the waiting room while she spent time with her grandmother. Maya did her homework sitting in the chair beside Rosa's bed. She told her grandmother about her day, about the kids at school who wanted to hear her story over and over, about the teachers who called her brave. "I just wish we could go home," Maya said one afternoon about 2 weeks after John's visit. "I miss our house. I miss my room. I miss everything being normal." Rosa reached out and touched Maya's face with her left hand. Her words came slowly but clearly. "Soon. I work hard. We go home soon." The doctors set a goal. If Rosa continued improving at her current rate, she could be discharged to outpatient rehabilitation in another month. She would need home health care and continued therapy, but she could live at home again. Child Protective Services agreed that once Rosa was home with adequate support, Maya could return to live with her grandmother. The community rallied to help make this possible. The money from John Cena covered all the medical bills and then some. A local contractor, inspired by Maya's story, offered to make the house more accessible for Rosa. He installed grab bars in the bathroom, a ramp at the front door, and other modifications that would make daily life easier during Rosa's recovery. Volunteers cleaned the house from top to bottom. They stocked the refrigerator and pantry. They made sure everything was ready for Rosa's return. Someone even washed and rehung all of Maya's John Cena posters, including the new signed photograph that now had a place of honor above her bed. Marcus Chen continued his delivery route as usual, but now he was a local celebrity. People waved at him from their porches. Kids ran out to get autographs. He remained humble about the whole situation, always redirecting attention to Maya's quick thinking. UPS recognized Marcus with a special company award for community service and awareness. They featured him in their internal newsletter and at a regional meeting. Marcus used the platform to encourage other drivers to pay attention and care about the people on their routes. "We are not just delivering packages," he told his fellow drivers. "We are part of the community. We see things that others might miss. That comes with responsibility." As the weeks passed, Maya settled into a routine. School, homework, hospital visits, dinner with the Johnsons, sleep and repeat. It was not her real home, but the Johnsons were kind. Mrs. Johnson made good food. Mr. Johnson helped her with math homework. Their teenage daughter Emily let Maya borrow books and taught her how to braid hair, but Maya counted down the days until she could go home. She marked them off on a calendar that Emily had given her. Each X brought her one day closer to normal life with her grandmother. 3 months after the stroke, Rosa was discharged from the hospital. An ambulance brought her home because she still could not ride in a regular car safely. Maya waited on the front porch, bouncing with excitement. When the paramedics wheeled Rosa up the new ramp, Maya rushed to her side. "Welcome home, Grandma." Rosa smiled, a real full smile that used both sides of her face now. "Home," she said clearly. "So good." They went inside together. Rosa looked around at the familiar rooms with tears in her eyes. Everything was clean and organized. Fresh flowers sat on the kitchen table. A new phone hung on the wall, connected and working. The house felt like a sanctuary after months of hospital rooms. Maya showed her grandmother all the modifications that had been made. Rosa was impressed and grateful, but what made her cry was seeing Maya's bedroom. All the posters were back up exactly where they had been. The signed photo from John Cena hung in the center of them all. And on the window where Maya had drawn the SOS signals, someone had placed a small plaque. The plaque read, "In this window, courage looked out and hope looked in. Never give up. Maya Torres, hero." Rosa hugged her granddaughter tightly. They had survived the worst thing that had ever happened to them. They had made it through together, and soon they would go to WrestleMania. The airplane touched down in Los Angeles on a bright Saturday morning. Maya pressed her face against the small window, watching the city spread out below them. She had never been on an airplane before. She had never been to California. She had never been anywhere outside of Florida, really. But here she was, Flying first class with her grandmother to attend WrestleMania as personal guests of John Cena, Rosa sat in the seat beside her, gripping the armrest with both hands. Her right hand still had some weakness, but she could use it now. Her speech had improved so much that strangers often could not tell she had suffered a stroke. She walked with a slight limp and used a cane for support, but she could walk. The doctors were amazed at her recovery. They credited the fast response time and Rosa's determination to work hard in therapy. "We are really here," Maya whispered. "This is really happening." Rosa smiled and patted her granddaughter's hand. "You earned this. You saved my life." A car waited for them at the airport. Not just any car, but a luxury SUV with a driver in a suit. He held a sign that said, "Torres family, welcome to Los Angeles." He loaded their small suitcases into the back and opened the door for them like they were celebrities. The hotel was unlike anything Maya had ever seen. The lobby had a ceiling 3 stories high with a massive chandelier. Marble floors reflected the lights. People in expensive clothes walked past carrying designer shopping bags. The front desk clerk treated them like VIPs, checking them into a suite on the 20th floor. The suite had 2 bedrooms, a living room, and a view of the city that made Maya gasp. She ran from window to window trying to see everything at once. Rosa lowered herself carefully onto the couch and laughed at her granddaughter's excitement. "Tomorrow is the big day," Rosa said. "You should rest." But Maya was too excited to rest. She could barely sleep that night. She kept getting up to look at the tickets John had sent them. Front row seats, backstage passes, a personal meet and greet before the show. It was more than she had ever dreamed possible. Sunday morning came with perfect weather, sunny and warm but not too hot. They got dressed in their new outfits. John's team had sent them WWE gear to wear to the event. Maya wore a John Cena t-shirt and matching cap. Rosa wore a more subtle WWE jacket and carried her cane, which Maya had decorated with WWE stickers. The driver picked them up at noon. The stadium was enormous, bigger than anything Maya had imagined. Thousands of people filled the parking lots, tailgating and celebrating. Everyone wore wrestling merchandise. The energy in the air was electric. Their backstage passes got them through security and into areas where regular fans could never go. A young woman named Sarah from John's team met them and became their guide for the day. She led them through narrow hallways filled with crew members rushing around preparing for the show. "Mr. Cena asked me to bring you to his locker room first," Sarah explained. "He wants to see you before everything gets too crazy." They walked down a hallway lined with doors. Each door had a name on it. Famous wrestlers that Maya had watched on television for years. Her heart pounded with each step. Sarah stopped at a door near the end of the hall and knocked. "Come in," a familiar voice called. Sarah opened the door, and there was John Cena. He stood in the middle of a private locker room, already dressed in his ring gear. When he saw Maya and Rosa, his face broke into a huge smile. "You made it." He crossed the room in 3 long strides and gave Maya a big hug. Then he turned to Rosa and hugged her more carefully, mindful of her recovery. "Mrs. Torres, you look amazing. The doctors told me you were doing great, but seeing you walking and smiling and here, it is incredible." "Thank you," Rosa said clearly. "Thank you for everything." "Are you kidding? Thank you. You two inspired millions of people. Do you know how many kids have learned about emergency signals because of Maya's story? How many people are paying more attention to their neighbors? You made a real difference." John spent the next 30 minutes just talking with them. He introduced them to other wrestlers who stopped by his locker room. Each one had heard the story and wanted to meet Maya. They posed for photos and signed autographs. Maya felt like she was floating in a dream. "Okay, I need to go over some last-minute things with my team," John finally said. "But Sarah is going to take you to your seats. I want you to enjoy the show. After my match, come back here and we will hang out some more. Sound good?" "Sounds perfect," Maya said. Sarah led them through more hallways and finally out to the arena itself. The place was massive. Lights flashed everywhere. Huge screens showed highlights from previous matches. The crowd was already deafening, and the show had not even started yet. Their seats were exactly where John promised, Front row, right near the main aisle where the wrestlers entered. Maya could reach out and touch the barricade that separated fans from the action. The ring looked enormous from this close. She could see the mat, the ropes, the turnbuckles, all in perfect detail. The show began with fireworks and music that shook the entire building. Match after match, wrestlers came down the aisle right past Maya and Rosa. Some winked at them. Some high-fived Maya as they passed. Everyone backstage knew who they were and why they were there. Finally, after hours of incredible matches, it was time for John Cena's fight. The lights went dark, his music hit, and the crowd erupted. Maya jumped to her feet, screaming along with thousands of other fans. John appeared at the top of the ramp, and the noise got even louder. He walked down the aisle, slapping hands with fans on both sides. When he reached Maya, he stopped. The cameras focused on them. John held out his hand, and Maya high-fived him. Then he pointed at her and mouthed, "Thank you," before climbing into the ring. The match was everything Maya hoped it would be. Fast-paced, exciting, full of near falls and dramatic moments. John Cena won after an intense battle, celebrating in the ring as confetti fell from the ceiling. He posed on each corner of the ring, and when he got to the corner nearest Maya, he pointed directly at her and mouthed, "Never give up." After the show, Sarah escorted them back to John's locker room. Despite having just finished a brutal match, John was energetic and happy. He had changed into regular clothes and cleaned up, but he still looked pumped up from the adrenaline. "What did you think?" he asked Maya. "It was the greatest night of my entire life," Maya said honestly. "Good, because this night is not over yet." John pulled out a small box and handed it to Maya. Inside was a custom championship belt, child-sized and made specially for her. The center plate had her name engraved on it along with the words, "Real-life champion, Maya Torres." "This is for you," John said, "because you are a champion. Not in wrestling, but in life. You showed courage when it mattered most. You saved a life. You inspired a nation. That makes you a champion in my book." Maya held the belt, tears streaming down her face. Rosa put her arm around her granddaughter, crying too. "I have one more thing to tell you," John said. "I am starting a foundation. It is going to help families who cannot afford phone service get emergency phones. It is going to teach kids about emergency preparedness. And I want to name it after you, the Maya Torres Never Give Up Foundation. What do you think?" Maya could not speak. She just nodded, overwhelmed by emotion. They spent another hour together, talking and laughing and taking more photos. When it was finally time to leave, John walked them out to their car personally. "Remember," he said as they got ready to drive away, "you have something special, Maya. You have courage and creativity and determination. Whatever you choose to do in life, you are going to be amazing at it." "I want to help people," Maya said, "like Marcus helped us, like you helped us. I want to be someone who makes a difference." "You already are," John said. "John." The car pulled away from the stadium. Maya looked back and saw John waving. She waved back until he disappeared from view. Then she looked down at the championship belt in her lap and smiled. 3 months ago, she had been alone and terrified, drawing SOS signals on her window with markers. Tonight she sat in a luxury car returning from WrestleMania with a custom championship belt and the knowledge that she had changed the world just by refusing to give up. Rosa squeezed her granddaughter's hand. They had survived the worst thing that ever happened to them. They had been blessed beyond measure. They had learned that heroes come in all forms. A little girl with markers, a delivery driver paying attention, a celebrity with a big heart and a community that cared. And most importantly, they had learned that 3 simple words could change everything. Never give up.